All right, guys, thanks for hopping on our Holistic Nutrition Hub podcast today. I'm on a call with Deidre Sirianni, who is a good friend of mine and definitely an inspiration and motivation to keep me moving forward, not only in my business, but in living in line with my purpose. Thanks for being here with me, Deidre.
Thanks for having me. This is amazing.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of a long time coming that we finally hopped on a podcast and got this out there.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Anytime. So I just wanted you to do a quick introduction of who you are and what you do. And then we'll get into a quick discussion that we put together.
Beautiful. So the work that I do mainly is I work with impact-driven entrepreneurs, people who really want to put their message out into the world and really make an impact in the world. And I help them essentially wake up to the truth of who they are at their core, their true self, so that they can make the biggest impact in the world. And that looks like a lot of different things. I've done business coaching, I do one-on-one coaching, I do a lot of different things. I do experiences in different parts of the world and mentoring and guiding. And really the primary thing that I do is I support individuals on dissolving illusions of who they are not in their life, their business, and really allowing them to see the path in front of them, that it's actually very easy to live in a space of flow, very simple to be the most express version of who you are and make a big impact. But first, you have to know what's real and what's not real, and that's what I help people do in their life and business so that they can just love their life, because life is actually supposed to be a lot of fun, and so is business. And when we're in flow, when we're actually doing the work that we're really called to do and we're showing up fully aligned, things are easy. But the problem is most of us aren't aligned, and that's why we're stressed out, that's why we're burnt out, that's why we have dis-ease in the body, because we're taking on things that aren't quite it. So I help people eliminate that so that they can live fully in their purpose and make the impact that they're here to make.
So then I have to ask, how did you get into the work that you're doing now?
Well, so growing up, I grew up in a family of serial entrepreneurs. So my family, they're involved in multiple businesses, and I saw business as a vehicle to create a lot of freedom in your life. And at the same time, I also saw it as the complete opposite, because my parents were stressed out all the time. They were working a lot. And to be honest, I didn't really think I wanted to own a business. And I remember when I was graduating high school, my mom's like, yeah, like you should go to school to be like a dental hygienist or something. I was just like, what? Like, I don't want a dental hygienist. Me and sciences, Lynn, it just is not, it's not pretty. I'm like, I feel like I'm on a different planet. So I didn't follow that path. I went to school for broadcast journalism, and I got to interact with a lot of brands in that space because I was the entertainment girl. I was the girl on location representing these brands. And so I really got to love the energy behind brands and their purpose and their mission and being a part of that magic. And long story short, after being in that space for a while and going through a transition and refining what I wanted to do, I stepped into the yoga space and starting my first business. And from seeing that there was a need, as a lot of people do, we love something, we want to offer it into the world, and then we kind of figure it out. So I was figuring that out, and through that process of running a yoga business, I quickly realized it wasn't quite it for me. I didn't feel like I was bringing my full self, my full gifts into the world. And on that path, I kept being guided to the work that I do now over and over again, from business owners that I was working with and doing experiences with and running retreats. And they're like, you need to coach, you need to guide. And a lot of different illuminations and experiences in the process of things not quite feeling like it was it, and me having to remove the things that weren't in order to find this path that I'm on now. So long story short, that's how I got to where I am now. And I freaking love it.
Yes, every day I watch your videos on Instagram, and I've seen you evolve personally myself too. I mean, I've took some of your coaching, but I've seen you evolve too in what you're doing and how you approach it. And I'm always amazed at, you know, not only how we can evolve as entrepreneurs, but how you're evolving within that space too. And it's really fun to, for me anyways, to be aligned with so many people who are entrepreneurs and watching each of us grow in such a monumental way. So today I brought you on the podcast to talk about what you think maybe some of the top challenges are. We're going to pick 3 because we know that there's a lot of challenges for any entrepreneur. But we're going to go with the flow and just suss out a few and see where we end up. So let's start with number 1. What do you think like the number 1 challenge is?
Well, I think this is like a symptom, and it is a challenge. It's all encompassing. Number 1, one of the biggest challenges I see a lot of my clients face, no matter whether or not they're like brand new in business or they have like a very established business that they've had for 10, 20 plus years. It's this, this feeling of playing small, this voice inside of them that's like, this isn't quite it. This isn't quite where you're supposed to be. And you're playing small. And I know for me in my journey, before I really stepped into where I am now, and I have little moments of it when I am not fully aligned, that voice coming up of being like, I'm playing small. But the problem is, it's not only the playing small, but not knowing how to fully show up in their full power, in their full capacity, in order to really be where they know that they're supposed to be. So the disconnect between where they are now, the playing small, to where they want to be and where they may have a vision of being. And a lot of entrepreneurs are visionaries. They're leaders. They have an idea. They see a problem, but there's a gap and they don't know how to fill it. But it's this internal, this feeling, this heavy weight of, I'm playing small, but I don't know fully how to get from where I am now to where I know I'm supposed to be.
Was it you that posted something that said something like that today on Facebook?
I
read a quote. Maybe it was Reza, which is funny. But I saw something that said exactly that. I wish I could remember what it was. I'll post it in the show notes because I feel like it's exactly like what you just said. Do you think that's kind of in line with imposter syndrome? You know, where you're putting yourself into a position where you don't feel like you quite fit?
Yeah, it's an interesting space because I used to be the person that was like, fake it till you make it. Like that was kind of like this motto that I learned through the coaches that I worked with, and now I don't really agree with it, but because it energetically it feels really taxing. So there's this illusion that you have to fake something until you make something, and that's actually not honoring the journey of being an entrepreneur or yourself, and it's putting you in a box where you feel like you have to play small or be something that you're not, and that is always going to have an expiration date. So going to the imposter syndrome, I feel like anytime we are putting ourselves into a box, anytime we have an idea of how we should be showing up, we are going to have that imposter syndrome, number 1. And number 2, the playing small is definitely a symptom of not just feeling like maybe you are enough, but the imposter syndrome, I think, is really about not fully finding your true self and expressing and being that. And that happens all the time in business. So it's like, yeah, I can be on stage at a conference or somewhere and be speaking, but I don't feel like I'm an imposter because I know who I am and I'm sharing from my space of alignment. But in the past, when I thought I should be a certain way, dress a certain way, talk a certain way, package myself in a certain way, yeah, the imposter syndrome would come up because it wasn't me. It wasn't what I wanted it to be, and it didn't feel aligned. So I feel like the imposter syndrome is when we're out of alignment with ourselves, and we're changing, numbing, taking off parts of ourselves in order to fit into something. And that is the imposter syndrome, because you can't be an expert. You can't really thrive until you're just yourself. And that's where success happens.
For sure.
Is that your question?
Yeah, for sure. Of course. And so obviously I don't want you to give all of your tips and tricks away, but do you have a small tip that you can give to our listeners on how they can rectify this?
Oh yeah, I am so happy to give all of my tips away, because I know that even then, it's not even the magic of what I do. So it's like, I'll give it all away. So when we're playing small, or when we have that feeling of playing small, it's good to ask yourself, well, where do you want to be? You know, where are you now? Where do you want to be? And what is in the way? What is the thing that's in the way from you getting where you are now to where you want? Is it a mental block? Is it a story you've been telling yourself? Is it something from the past that's coming up for you? Is it fear? Is it an emotional block? Is it a physical thing that you need to do in order to overcome? And getting clarity on the thing that is in the way, that's huge. I have a free downloadable thing on my website that you can go to and actually do that in all areas of your life. You can just go to my website and download that and do that on your business. Happy to just take that and use it. So clarity there on the playing small is huge. And then creating an actionable plan to remove the blocks is big, or gain the skills, or find out how. Because sometimes it's just, I just don't know, and that is the block. And then the piece with the imposter syndrome is, where are you not giving yourself permission to be yourself? That's a good question. Yeah. And then from there, asking yourself, what have you been taught to believe about maybe your industry or the environment that you're in, the situation that you are presenting yourself in, whatever that is? What are the rules and the ideas that you think that you have to like show up as? Like, what are the rules? And then asking yourself, do those align with your values? Is that integral with who you are? And is that really in alignment with you? And if it's not, you need to create your own path and do that deeper inner work. And that's where the playing small and the imposter syndrome, it's from not fully knowing yourself. In business and in life, we get so caught up in the doing, but it's really more about, who are you being? Mm-hmm. Who are you being in your life, in your relationships, in your business? And from there, you are going to exude confidence. You are going to exude experiences and attract the right people and manifest success. But if you're constantly doing, you know, putting yourself in a box, pretending, playing small, and showing up, and it doesn't quite feel right, you're going to be pushing like a weight up against a mountain, versus being in a space of flow and fluidity and really alignment. And I used to live there. I was the hustler and it's exhausting. So I think those questions are really good to reflect and go a little bit deeper. And you can go over to my website and just download that worksheet. I think there's like 16 or 18 sections that you can actually identify all of the blocking points. So that can be a value too.
Perfect. I can fully agree with you on the hustling thing. I always thought, like, if you're not hustling 100% of the time as a business owner, you're not working hard enough and you're not doing the best that you can be doing for your business. But then I realized that then I'm not the best person that I can be, and I can't give to my clients, right? And that's really deterred from, you know, actually making my business successful. So yeah, I fully agree with you on that point. Okay, so on to the second challenge. What do you think about for that?
Well, the next piece is, there's this illusion. I love the word illusion. There's this illusion that we have to, you know, save face. We have to act like we have it all together in business and in life. And I know that there's this movement right now online where everyone's talking about their feelings, but it's also very strategic and it's not actually real. Like, there's influencers out there, there's people out there being like, I'm going to share this because this is what Brene Brown said I should do. And it's like this trend. But when you're fully real with yourself and you're not trying to package it up in a pretty way, and I'm not saying you have to put yourself out there online, that's more of a strategy for connection, let's be honest, in business. But it's like, where are you pretending things are great when they're not? You know, I know for me, I've been in business for 10 years now. And oh my gosh, I made so many mistakes in business. And the biggest mistake I think I made really was pretending I had it all figured out and pretending things were good when they weren't. And what that did was it really blocked me from finding the support that I needed to take my business to the next level, and also to feel the kind of confidence and stability that I truly wanted to create in my life and business. So another big problem that I see entrepreneurs and just as humans in general face is we're so busy pretending. And when we're pretending, who are we really being? Are we really being ourselves? Like going back to point number one, playing small, imposter syndrome, like who are you being? And in the space, if you can be honest with yourself of what's not working, that's going to open up so much for you to create what can work and to find the right experts and support. Because if you're pretending things are great when they're not, you are not going to see the support. You are not going to ask for support, and you are going to block yourself from truly growing and making it easy. Going back to the first point, it doesn't have to be hard. It can be easy, but we make it hard when we are pretending things are one way when they're not, when we are playing small, when we haven't identified the issues, when we are trying to be something we're not. We make it hard. So pretending things are great, pretending you have it figured out, pretending anything is
Well, we wouldn't want to hear lies from our best friends either. So I mean, when we're putting our businesses out there, we don't want to have lies like to them too. So the question that pops up for me is that often when you start out a business, our story that we have related to our business is obviously very important. So would you say that it's important to figure out like what your true story is, where you are aligned, and share that before, you know, like really putting your story out there and just putting things out there because you feel like you have to? So like for us as nutritionists, I feel like most people have a story that's related to health or something that's very close to them. And we're always told, you know, put that story forward because it's an important part of who you are and how you got here, and also how to make that connection, like you said, with your clients. So how do you differentiate between, you know, what you're saying and telling your story and making sure that you don't feel like you're pretending or being an imposter, etc.? Because that's a tricky line, I think.
Yeah. Okay. That's a great question. So, with your story, so you may have a reason why you got into what you do now. And that's an amazing thing. Usually you've overcome some sort of challenge, and you want others to, you know, you want to make the path a lot easier for your clients to overcome that challenge because you went through a lot of pain and suffering and you found an easier way. So that's like a story that you would share with your audience to show them, you know, I feel you, I understand you, I've been there, and I know how to make it simple for you. So that's I think that's wonderful. Going into not pretending, this is more about in business and in life when you do need more help. So for example, me in my business, when I first started, I acted like I had it all figured out. I was just like a chicken with my head cut off, running in all these different directions. And I was great. But if I actually slowed down and I was more honest with myself, I'd be like, you know what? Yeah, I love what I do, but you know, I need some support in this area of my business or this area of my life, or this is a blind spot, or this is something that I'm struggling with in order to support myself on the journey. So as far as being transparent with our clients and putting ourselves out there, I do think it's important to share open and honestly with your clients or your inner circle. Like, I think that makes us all human, and your story is a piece of that. But what I'm saying more of is the pretending is, don't pretend with yourself and with others in your life so that you can actually be open to opportunities of being supported. So obviously the people that you're here to support, you show up in service and you're there for them, but make sure that you are supporting yourself. So one thing that you mentioned, Lynn, was, you know, you were in the hustle mode before, right? So you were constantly hustling, but because of that, you weren't fully showing up for yourself. And as a result, as always happens, even if we don't want to admit it, we are unable to give our full self to our clients. So you recognizing that maybe earlier on and being honest with yourself, you could have maybe got a little bit more support to fill up your own cup. Does that answer the question?
Yeah. Of course. Yeah, of course. yeah, I just wanted clarification because, you know, there's many stories that we have and things that we can share, and it's important that we share the right things and also get support on the sides that we need help for. Like, we can't hustle all the time and not have, I mean, let's go back to the old saying, every coach needs a coach. You know, like, you can't be a coach for your nutrition clients without a coach. I think it's just one of those things that if you're not getting the support you need, you're not living. Potentially you're not seeing blockages or issues that you might be having within your business as well.
Mm-hmm. And one thing I would just love to add in regards to sharing your stories online, and you said something about like, should I post? Should I just put something out there just to put it out there? And I used to always do things because I thought I had to, but the energy wasn't quite right.
Right.
And so one thing that I'm learning in my life, and this is a lesson that's coming up, you know, in the past few months, is to slow down and to really take my time to feel into what my intention is behind everything that I put out there. I'm putting out significantly less content. And I used to be like, content. Every week I do a video blog. I was super consistent. I did all the things that all the internet marketing people said. But it wasn't fully aligned, and the quality wasn't as deep as it could be. So I personally today am about feeling into something. I think about birthing something, especially if you're birthing a business into the world. You know, I think about having a baby. You know, you're pregnant for 9 months. Like, you know, it's in you for 9 months, and you got to nourish that baby. You got to grow it. You got to strengthen it. And so just like with our stories and the content that we're putting out there, what is your intention behind what you're putting out there? And the 4 questions that I like to ask in regards to intention, I do this every day at the beginning of my day, is, how do I want to feel? Right? But instead, when you're putting a piece of content out there, it's like, how do I want the person who's reading this to feel, or watching this, or absorbing this information to feel? The second question is, what am I committed to? Like, what am I committed to in this space? Like, what do I, how do I want them to feel? What am I committed to? What is my desired outcome? So what do I want them to do with this piece of content after they've read it, they've consumed it, whatever, and how do I want to show up? So the showing up in regards to putting content out there, if it's a video, it could be like your energy, like the way you deliver it. If it's a piece of written content, like, what is the energy behind it? Are you allowing them to reflect and feel into it and come up with their own answers? Or are you going to be like more in their face and intense because it's something you're super passionate about? So with anything that you're putting out there, and again, this is coming from the girl that was like, go before you're ready, and da 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 da. Like, I was like, well, Lynn, you know this because that's when we worked together. I was more in that space. Yeah. But now I'm about the filtering system and the nourishing. So if you can ask yourself those 4 questions with how you want to feel every day and how you want to show up in your business with your clients, all of that, and then also use those questions for any content that you're putting out there, or even your offering and your stories, you are going to feel so aligned, and people are going to feel that. So less content can actually be more if it's aligned with what you're creating, and if it's behind your mission and vision of your company and what you're doing. And I don't think enough people start with their mission and their vision of what they want to create. And that's why people feel scattered and feel like they're putting stuff out there that's not connected to the core of what they're doing.
Yeah, I think that's especially true for nutritionists, because we get out of school and generally we feel like we have to start a consulting business, and that's not necessarily where everybody should go. But because they don't dive into these questions prior to starting their company or prior to starting their practice, they end up doing it, feeling stuck, feeling burnt out, that's exactly like my story, and then figuring it out later. And so you jump through all these other hoops to get to where you go. And I mean, in a sense, it's an evolution, I feel like, for most entrepreneurs. But I think if we just held back just for a few minutes and just really thought about who we are and what we want to do and where we want to put ourselves, it would just make life just a smidgen easier on everybody, not only our clients, but also us. And yeah, I think I feel exactly like what you said is the same for me. Is, you know, had I just, you know, stopped for just a minute, thought about what I wanted to do, who I wanted to be, I probably could have saved myself a lot of trouble with the things that I did previously. But again, I feel like it's an evolution of not only who you are, but your business as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's 2 challenges. What's the third one you got for us, lady?
Well, there's so many. I think I actually said like 5 of them in the last one. The next challenge is that, you know, oftentimes in business, we get so caught up in investing in tools, in processes, in education, but we're not investing in ourselves. We're not investing in our own development of who we are as humans. We're not really asking ourselves, well, what are the areas in my life where I feel triggered or that cause me to take actions that are not aligned? Where are the areas where I find myself maybe self-sabotaging or not really showing up as the person that I want to be? And so the third piece that I really want to touch on today is about, I see a lot of new entrepreneurs, I'm going to say, because I think this is more your audience. Is that accurate?
I would say so, yeah.
Is that we want people to invest all of this money and time in us, right? And we have fear around charging our worth. And we undercharge, we overwork, we stress ourselves out, right? But when we really look at the truth, are you investing in yourself? Are you hiring a coach to help you go to your next level in your life and business? And if the answer is no, well, I guarantee you're going to have the energy behind you of not feeling worth your rates and really getting the clients that you really want. You might be settling with clients that are not aligned because you don't really know your value because you're not investing in yourself. So one of the biggest lessons that I've learned, I remember hiring my first coach like 6 or 7 years ago. And I remember thinking as I hired him, wow, that was a lot of money that I didn't have. I hired him for 3 months, changed my life. But I remember thinking like, this guy is going to think I'm a loser because I was just all over the place. And I didn't fully want to be seen in the chaos. Like no one really does. At least I didn't. And so I got out of my own way and I hired him, and it was the best decision I made. And from that moment forward, my prices increased. I was attracting better clients. And this is what happens when you're constantly investing in yourself. And I hear this excuse all of the time by newbie entrepreneurs. And I work with people who are brand new in business to like 20 plus years who have massive like 8-figure businesses. So it's like all over the place. But it's that, you know, I don't want to invest in myself until I make X amount of money. Well, the truth is, or I can't afford a coach, or I can't afford this experience. Well, you can't afford not to. There are too many people who are heart-centered entrepreneurs who have a voice, who have a mission, who really have a strong purpose to create a change in the world, that aren't making the kind of money they need to make, are burnt out, and guess what? They end up resenting their business, and they end up quitting or struggling to just get by. And guess who's getting richer? The big, massive corporations that are stealing our dollars and are putting our money into things that we don't support. So it's essential that, you know, you get out of your own way and you invest in a coach, whether it's a business coach or a personal coach, or, you know, those seminars regularly to uplift you and continue your development. Because if you don't, I mean this with love, you're falling behind and you're not going to get on top of it, especially as a newer entrepreneur. You have to invest in yourself. Otherwise, you're going to have a hard time having others invest in you, and energetically, they're going to feel it and they're not going to feel comfortable. And you're going to keep lowering your prices. You're going to keep accepting people who aren't quite the right fit. And it could be the sabotage of a business that doesn't get off the ground or you resent. And And I help a lot of people. Like one of my clients, she wanted to burn down her business when I started working with her. And now she's like, 3 months later, I love it, and we've achieved 95% of her goals in 3 months that she had for a year. And she hired me for a year, so we're working on other things now. But she's like, yeah, I wanted to burn it down. And so I think it's important to know that when you don't think that you can take on anything else, when you don't think that you have the money, the time, the energy, that's a sign that you need to. Otherwise, you're not fully committed to your mission. And I would hate to see, it breaks my heart when heart-centered entrepreneurs who really want to do good in the world are not making the kind of impact that they want or the kind of money. And essentially, they can't sustain themselves. And then they do their career part-time and they settle. And it's just really, it breaks my heart.
Yeah, I think that's especially because we do get a lot of new entrepreneurs starting up their business. Often it is, well, I'm still doing my side hustle. I'm still thinking about jumping in. I don't know if I'm ready yet. But the thing is that if you are only putting 10% of your effort into your business, only 10% of that is going to come back, if that, because you don't have the energy and the emotion to actually put into it, which is what you need. And when you do that, it comes back tenfold. That's the best part about it. And people don't realize how fast that turnaround can happen if they really do put in the effort. So I hear you, and I felt it myself. I mean, I think every person who fully puts themselves into their business and takes the time to put that through feels it come right back. And that's really just motivation to keep going, for sure.
And really, oftentimes we don't, as in life, we don't invest in ourselves because it's not because of fear that it's not going to work. The investment's not going to work. It's more of, do I really trust myself to show up? And so what I loved about hiring my first coach when I was like, wow, this is so expensive. And I remember him telling me the dollar amount and my jaw dropped open. I was like, what? But I figured it out because I knew that I was so sick of being in my own way and it being hard. But as soon as I got out of my own way and I invested that, I said, now I have to show up because my skin's in the game. And that's the beautiful thing about when you bring on clients, when their skin is in the game, oh, they are going to show up. They're going to do the homework and more. And you're going to attract those kind of clients. And you need to have your skin in the game too, in order to show up in your full self and prove yourself wrong if you have old patterns or belief systems that aren't working. And that's really what this is all about, is our evolution is about showing up anyways when we're scared and saying yes and trusting in the process. And that's been a huge lesson for me. And the crazy thing is, like, I don't want to tell you how much I've spent in my own development in the last year, but it's a lot. I could buy a brand new car with it, maybe 2 new cars with it, actually. But every time I invest in coaches in this kind of development, when I know what the next best step is, because all we really need to know is what's the next best step to help us overcome a challenge. We don't have to have it all figured out because that's why we hire the experts. That's why we hire the coach, right?
Yeah.
And every time I've hired a coach, which I've had for a long time now, my business doubles or triples. Like last year, I more than doubled or tripled what I invested in myself with a coach. So it's like the return is huge. And it's like, if we had an investment in the bank that was like, oh, you're going to get 300% return, wouldn't you put all of your savings in it? I would. So you got to invest in yourself because you are your biggest investment. And if you're here to do the work that you're here to do, you got to show up, right? So
yeah, and emotionally, I mean, like, the money's great. I mean, everybody loves money, but the emotional impact that it has on us too in the long run is super important as well. I mean, if you were to say, okay, well, I'm going to put one smile into the bank and you'll get 300 back. I mean, that feels pretty good, I think. Anyways, emotionally speaking, I think it's very important to have a coach and have somebody to help push you along the way and show you the path that you're on, and just maybe put a little extra light on it. I mean, most of us know the path that we want to be on and where we should be going, but I feel like a coach is really a person that's just shining the light on it and just giving us that little extra, let's say, illumination for just to keep us there and to keep us moving forward. So I've said this, I definitely think every professional should have a coach, obviously. So what do you have coming up that our listeners might feel aligned with, or would be based on what we talked about today?
Well, thank you for asking. I am so excited. I'm running my very first 2-day live event that's open to people who are not a client of mine already on October 5th and 6th, and it's called Turn Your Light On. And it's all about waking up to the truth of who you are and who you're meant to be. So the first day, it's a 2-day event in Vancouver, Canada. So if you're not in Canada, you can just get a ticket. It's no big deal. Just get out of your own way, buy the tickets, and come over here. If you're in Vancouver, well, it's local, so make it easy. And the first day is all about dissolving barriers, physical, mental, and emotional barriers that are preventing you from really showing up fully in your life and your business and your vision and who you're meant to be in the world. And also, if you're not fully connected with your higher purpose, the message that you're really here to share, you're going to get that on the first day. You're going to know what it is, and you're going to release any kind of barrier that is blocking you from living that and really expressing that into the world. And also, I'm going to teach you how to quiet the noise in order to really see the path that you're on and make it easy, the path of least resistance, rather than being pulled in all directions energetically, physically, mentally, emotionally, and not really knowing how to move your project, your passion, your business, and your mission forward. And then the second day, we're going to be diving into leading and living from the heart as an entrepreneur, and also how you can take your message, how you can take what you're here to do to the next level, and how you can make the biggest impact in the world. So it's for people who are heart-centered, impact-driven, visionaries, who are ready to really show up fully and dissolve anything that's in the way from them really taking themselves to the next level. And I have a couple guest speakers that are going to be amazing, and I'm going to be facilitating most of the 2-day event, but it's transformational, it's life-changing, and it's the investment to show up is ridiculously low considering the amount of value. And I'm so excited. So if you're ready to stop playing small, if you're ready to get out of your own way, if you're ready to make the path easy, if you're ready to dissolve the things, the patterns, the cycles that you've been on that you know that are self-sabotaging and are keeping you from really doing your soul's work and closing the gap from where you are now to where you know you're supposed to be, this event is for you. And I'd love to invite you to join us on October 6th. Yeah, so I'm really, really excited about that. We have our not our pre-ticket sales. We have our early bird sales on right now for the event. So that's on for a few more weeks, and it's just going to be amazing. It's going to be such a magical experience.
Cool. I'll put the link into our show notes for you, and maybe we can share it on our Facebook group as well so that people can find you. But quickly, where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, so it's Deidre Sirianni. So I'll get you to write that in the show notes as well.
Yeah.
How do you spell that one?
I still have a hard time. I double checked today. I'm like, is this the right way of spelling Deidre? Yes, I'm good.
It goes against all the English rules.
Yeah.
So it's just Deidre Sirianni. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. It's deidresirianni.com. I am transitioning over to a new website called radicallyaligned.com, which should be live at the end of August. So beginning of September, everything will be there. And as far as the event goes, well, maybe we can just leave a link for the event here as well.
100%. Cool. I'm super excited for all of the things that you're doing. And so stoked. I just want to share with our listeners too about your TED Talk that's coming up. Just because I am super stoked for you, because you brought that up so long ago and you made it happen. So it just goes to show being truly aligned with what you want to do and putting it out there, it will come back and you will fulfill those I don't want to call them wishes, but your desires.
Mm-hmm. And that was really from seeing the gaps. What do I need to figure out in order to land a TED Talk? what do I have to figure out to launch this 2-day event? What is in the way? And that's really where it starts. And again, I have that freebie on my website too. You can go there and download it and get a little bit of clarity now. And yeah, I'd love to invite you to this event. It's going to be really magical. And thank you for mentioning the TED Talk. I'm really excited about it. And when I first got it, I just cleared a lot of shifts in my life, because what I've realized from this place of evolving, it's when we clean things up that aren't aligned, we are presented with what we truly want, because now we have space. And as soon as I cleared a few big things out, that presented itself. And so that's a big part of this work too.
I'm super stoked for you. I think it's a big deal.
Thank you. I'm very excited about it. It's the end of October in London, Ontario. And then the first week of October is the event. And then I move to Bali for a few months. And then I'm kind of going from there, because why not? If not now, when, right?
Exactly. I don't want to say YOLO, but I feel like it's very fitting for this moment.
Okay, get this. You only live now.
Okay, so that's Yoln. Pretty close
now. Yeah, I switched it a little bit. I want to be, original.
Yeah, there you go. Well, it works. Well, thanks, Son, for being on here with me. I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to us. And it's nice to see your face after a little while, too.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. And if you're watching this and you want to reach out and connect, I'm happy to connect over, I would say probably Instagram is where I'm most, connected for instant messaging, not so much Facebook. And yeah, I would highly suggest picking up that freebie. And if you have any questions about anything, feel free to connect. I'd love to connect more with your community that you have been building here, Lynn. Super exciting.
I'll make sure that they can find you. Don't worry.
Beautiful. Thank you.